Good day, fellow geeks. On this episode of Geeks of Azeroth, we've got some more details on the WoW 10th anniversary. The 6.0 PTR is live, and we've got quite a discussion topic about the war narrative between the Alliance and the Horde, and more on this week's episode of Geeks of Azeroth. Hello, and welcome to the show. I pushed the wrong button, so the video's not showing us. There we go. My name's Tarly, and with me is our usual suspects. We got Zool, and Tom is back for episode 10.
Ooh,
and it feels good to be at 10 episodes, guys.
I can't believe it. Hitting double digits.
Yeah, that's what I was
feel
just saying.
old.
Double digits.
This is where we start to get a bit rebellious.
Yes.
We start kicking off.
Or we just get old and cranky and pine for the good old days.
That would be better.
So, starting with you, Tom, how have you been in World of Warcraft?
Well, we just mentioned a second ago before the show started, there has not been a lot going on at all. Slight internet problems. I had to wait to set up the internet in my new place. So currently, two and a half weeks ago, I was 4 runestones away from finishing that stage of the legendary quest. My internet got connected Thursday, and I've got 2 runestones since. So 2.5 weeks, I've got 2 runestones, and that's it.
That's quite the progress.
Literally.
Quite the progress.
It's amazing progress. I can't wait.
What about you, Jake? Zool, Jake?
Whichever. I haven't spent really any time on my max level tunes again. Kind of messed around in some low level alts. I sit down when I have some time to game, and I'm like, okay, I could log on to my druid main and work on the legendary quest line, or I could go play some Diablo. And that's still winning out right now for the most part. When I do play WoW, like I said, it's just messing around with some low level alts.
It's just that backup. Now, unfortunately, Blizzard has sort of shot itself in the foot by providing 3 decent games.
Yeah,
you end up just falling from one to the other.
I myself have spent this last week on Earth and Mars and Venus and the Moon. This little game may have come out. I'm not holding a game case in front of the camera for you guys who can't see me. So I did spend quite a bit of time playing Destiny this week instead of Warcraft. But the time I did spend was actually not on live servers, but on the PTR, which we will get to in a minute. So starting off with some big news this week, they released some more details on the 10th anniversary and how we do not have to worry about rushing to level 100 to play the content. You guys had a chance to read into this at all?
Yeah, look at the dates
Briefly.
and everything.
Yep, so basically, we have from Thursday, November 13th is when the launch is of Warlords of Draenor. And then the next Tuesday, we have the anniversary event. And then we have from then until January 6th to complete all the content. Now, you do have to be level 100 to do, the Molten Core. But there's going to be different tiers of the Battleground anyway. You can be a bracket between level 90 and 99, and then a separate 100 bracket. So what do you guys think about this? Think this is a good amount of time to be able to enjoy the anniversary?
I think for some...
it's
Oh,
decent.
sorry. Go on, you first.
I think it's a decent amount of time. I mean, it is through the holidays, which on the one hand means some people have more time off, but on the other, a lot of people will be traveling and seeing family. So I think that's another reason they gave us, pretty good amount of time. Because it's through Christmas, it's through New Year's, it's through all of that. And Thanksgiving here in the States, all of that is during this time period when it's going on. Mm-hmm. All the big holiday season is right there.
I'm not so. I mean, in a way, I'm glad that they've left it a certain decent period of time, but I don't know why bother having it all in place from launch, because obviously not everyone can tap into it. I think it'd be much better to stagger it as multiple events, maybe, because I don't see what the point of when is the 100 molten core available from day one technically.
The Tuesday after launch, yes, that's on the anniversary. It's available.
No, it says
Or
November 21st. That's the Friday after launch, so a week.
a week, yeah.
I guess that works then. I mean, how many people though do you think are going to be 100? Like, that's the thing. I think the problem is how long do we think it's going to take for a decent chunk of the player base to reach 100?
I mean,
I don't think it's going to take till January, personally.
Yeah.
Like
the hardcore raiders will be 100 by the time it
100 in 2
releases,
days.
but they might not be doing it, except that you do get a
helmet.
a helm that's at eye level with the raids, so maybe they will all do it once. Who knows?
Well, it is eye level with LFR, so
Yeah.
with heroic dungeon gear being better than LFR, it may not be required.
Sounds like a cheeky pass at the cloak though. You get a kind of legendary helm, as it were.
Yeah.
So, but no, it seems like from the molten core perspective, it's good. I mean, as long as people understand, it's not a race now to get straight into that end content. Enjoy the game. Don't feel you have to rush it. I mean, this is LFR at the end of the day. It's not normal, what will be normals. So you quite literally will ding 100, and then 20 minutes later you'll be in this. So
Yeah.
you've got a real decent amount of time to really enjoy the game, get to know everything, and maybe even go for an ult as well in that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And,
it isn't. Since there is only the one piece of gear, it's not necessarily something that you'll feel like you have to do multiple times unless you want to, of course. It's just going to be like every other holiday event that we kind of see happen. But in my opinion, it's going to be pretty cool. I'll probably spend a lot of time in the PvP.
Oh, that is going to be make or break for the entire anniversary, I think, how this gets delivered.
Yeah, I'll check it out at least once, give it a go, and then if I like it, I'll keep doing it. If I do what I usually do, I'll be like, PvP, and then move on.
Now, how do you guys feel about the fact, just talking about PvP for a second, that there isn't actually a new launch Battleground coming with Warlords? Besides this one, of course. Does that bother any of you guys at all?
Since I don't do much PvP, not particularly.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I mean, just like we were saying earlier, because not many people are probably going to want to jump straight into it. They might think, well, we can leave it a couple of weeks. Then again, maybe it's Blizzard's incentive to try and push Ashran.
Yeah, that's
so it eventually will release it in a month. But until then, why don't you check out Ashran? That way, more people fall into it and sort of enjoy it. So there probably is a balance between tactics and so much other stuff on our plate, we can't handle it. So but I mean, that South Shore and Tower Mill will certainly keep people busy until they start getting those battlegrounds out. However, you guys are Horde, so you are going to love it. I'm going to hate it.
Yes.
Because no one on my team's going to work together, and we're all going to blame the priest. So.
Well, see, normally my problem with Horde Battlegrounds is the Horde doesn't do objectives. They just like to run in the middle and kill everything. So this is going to be perfect.
It works perfectly. It's a great tactic. The Alliance like to just mess about and think that it's PvE and that we need to be on Mumble or something like that.
All right, so moving on, big surprising news that came this week. I wasn't expecting it anyway. The 6.0 PTR is now live. You can go ahead, anybody can hop on, download the PTR, and import their characters and start messing around with all the new features that are going to be live on live servers in about a month. Have either of you had a chance to hop in?
No.
No?
Not quite simply no. I certainly will be. I definitely will be. It's, in a way, we talked about in previous shows, jokingly, like, oh, we haven't got access to the beta, And yeah, it's, not quite access to the beta, but this is what people want. They want to sort of blow off a bit of steam, try and get to see these changes in action. It's all been so theoretical up until now, unless you have been fortunate enough to be in the beta. And I genuinely, I think there's a lot of people like me who have heard a lot about the changes, have seen a lot of people, or heard a lot of people talking about the changes, but it's difficult to visualize it. I want to see someone's stats on their items change when they change spec. I want to see how that operates, and how, you know, just to visualize it and perceive it, I think will help a lot of people understand what's coming up rather than just falling into it.
Exactly. Definitely get what you mean there. I did happen to hop into it myself, but I didn't want to bore myself of the quest line before it's even on live servers to do with like my characters. So really all I did was play around with the new models, just kind of hopped around, you know, playing with all the animations, you know, casted some spells just so, you know, it's cool to see, you know, different numbers now than what you're used to seeing. The squish is definitely noticeable when you're looking for it. But it's really cool to just see all the new tiny things that, you know, Blizzard didn't talk about, like, you know, the change to the quest log and all the other different UI changes. Like, you can restore deleted characters now, which is, you know, something you had to previously go and talk to a GM about. So
yeah, that's pretty
really
much what I
cool.
want to do.
Really cool to just hop in there and play with all the little features. But if you want to, you can go do the opening quest line around the Dark Portal. It kind of pops up right when you hop in, like, go down to the Dark Portal. And then, yeah, so that's available. But I'm going to do that when it's live.
Yeah, same.
What's the community like in there, Tali? Like, you know, the beta I imagine is quite
not very many people.
Well behaved.
It's very not very many people have hopped on the PTR, at least when I was playing, and not very many people were talking. A couple people, you know, would say something here and there, but there weren't very many looking for groups or nothing like that. So it was kind of quiet, kind of relaxing, Azeroth.
For once.
Yes. But you mentioned in our notes, is this the poor man's beta? And I would definitely agree. For someone who never got a beta invite, it's nice to finally be able to access some part of Warlords of Draenor.
Yeah.
Do you think, though, that they might take this a little bit further? Maybe take the PTR a slight step further in content, or maybe see something else? Or do you think it now literally we've seen everything we're going to see up until release?
Oh, yeah, that definitely. I don't think we're going to get any Draenor content on the PTR. I think this is just to extend a little bit of feature testing for players before it actually goes live. But the beta was really testing all the new content. Don't think we'll see that on the PTR.
Oh, shame.
Moving on, next topic. BlizzCon tickets have begun arriving by email. So if you have purchased a BlizzCon ticket, be sure to check your email because it will most likely be in there. I have gotten both of my tickets in the email. Was very happy to see that. Forwarded. The way we did it, my friend and I, we were both very panicked because it was already the second day. We both missed our opportunity on the first day to get tickets, so we were both spamming our computers. I got in to purchase tickets. He did not, so we just did a little wire transfer, and I bought the tickets on my computer, so they came to me. So, yeah, forwarded that along. Excuse me. It's cold season.
I think you're just being greedy.
Yes.
I think you're just making someone up now. You just want to.
I just want to go twice.
Exactly. Yes. I have no friends. But yeah, so our tickets arrived. So if you haven't gotten yours, be expecting it soon. Mine arrived actually a couple days ago. But this actually finally set in the hype. Now that I have my ticket, the hype is set in. I'm very excited to be heading down to California.
Here it is.
It's very soon. 2 months. 2 months away.
Yeah, less so. I mean, how do you guys think sort of the community's getting up to Blizzard? I mean, you know, talking widely about Blizzard games in general, there's a lot of news coming out. Hearthstone, there's a lot expected to come out of StarCraft. Diablo might be a bit quiet.
I hope
obviously
for Diablo, I have hopes that they announce a second expansion.
That would be cool.
I'm really hoping they do something like that because I'm loving it right now.
I'm almost certain that we're going to hear the new WoW expansion while we're there. At least the title.
And nothing else.
Yeah, yeah.
Just the title,
Well,
and they move
can't
on, and
really
they never say it again.
show spoilers because we haven't even been into the next expansion yet. But
Yeah.
I really wouldn't be surprised to hear the new title, The Rise of the Legion. Quote me on that.
Give you a credit underneath it.
See, I'm thinking, because let's see, we had the Burning Crusade, and I was thinking the Burning Invasion.
All right, so
And I'm gonna go with Wrath of the Legion. Let's literally rehash 2 games.
rehash.
See, the new Lich King gets infected by the Legion.
Oh, so zombie demon Lich King 2.
Now we're really screwed.
Or Bolvar comes back. He's been left up that mountain for so long, and he's thinking, "What on earth's happened?"
Well, see, they mentioned that BlizzCon virtual ticket and attendee holders get an in-game item for Heroes of the Storm, and this makes me think, well, none of us have Heroes of the Storm. So how is this going to work? So we may have some kind of an announcement of beta or something.
It's released. We skipped beta. It's out.
Yeah, that would be nice too. I would just really like some more people, including myself, to be playing that game.
Yeah, I want to play it. I want to play it really bad.
I mean, Blizzard seemed kind of frustrated. I think it was Gamescom. I saw them interviewed about it, and they, kept urging that it's still an alpha and there's a lot of stuff not done about the game. They have a lot more to add, but come on, Blizzard.
We want to play it.
Give Blizzard or BlizzCon attendees beta. Come on.
We want everything now.
Do you think there's a chance?
I lost audio from you, Tom.
I'm not this good at reading lips, so...
Let's try it. Oh, looks like we're getting Tom back out. Here we go. Everyone's back.
Woo!
Perfect.
Oh.
All right, back.
Screw you,
to
Skype.
The show. Any other thoughts on BlizzCon before we move on to the next topic?
I was, and I'm worried to say it now in case it cuts out again. I was going to say...
Blizzard's mad at us for bashing Blizzard.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. Maybe. How long do you think it is... Or maybe what I'm trying to ask is, do you think anything on the new IP could be touched on?
It's so hard to say. Blizzard's one of those companies that really keeps things under wraps, and they do it really well. Unless they want to, of course, leak something. But if there is going to be something announced, it'll probably get dug up about the week before BlizzCon, just like Warlords of Draenor was, because they have to trademark any title they're going to announce.
Yep.
So, unless they can somehow find a way to keep their trademark secret, if there's a new title going to be announced, we'll probably have it leaked the week before BlizzCon. As is the history. As well as when they announce Rise of the Legion. Because that's what it's going to be called.
Burning Invasion.
Wrath of the Legion, please. Vote now.
Vote now at epicgeeks.co.uk, and you will decide
don't really,
the fate.
There's nothing there. There's nothing there to vote on, so we're
We
lying.
could get a petition going on White House Gov
Let's do it.
and see if Obama will share which one of our opinions is better.
Throw up a straw poll right now. Do we have any viewers in the live stream? We have 3. That's probably the 3 of us. So.
It's probably us, trying to get back into our own Skype call.
Okay, so next on the agenda. But any more comments on BlizzCon?
I might be able to shoot down there.
Oh, that would be great.
Like, I don't have a ticket or anything, but I am officially making the job change.
Oh yeah.
In the next week or so here, so it'll be easier for me to have a little bit of time off here and there, and in the long run I'll be making more, but I'm not sure if I will by that time comes around. So we'll see. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Definitely like to have you down at least for one of the community parties. That would be cool.
Yeah, that's what I would look at. Is I'd probably talk to you and see which one and try to make one of them that you're going to be at for sure.
But definitely for sure keep make sure you're watching. As I know you'll be watching the live stream of the event, everybody. But we will also have a show that morning because I will be on the floor. Not literally on the floor, but on the floor of the convention, calling in.
Just plastered.
Maybe, who knows? Depending on how the pre-party goes.
Oh man.
If the announcements come out as we want them to, then we'll all just get drunk.
Exactly, we'll celebrate. Okay. All right, moving on. A new topic about battlegrounds are available for lower level brackets in Warlords of Draenor.
Did you want me to take this one?
Yes, we'll have you take that on.
Basically, it's a big sort of announcement, I guess, if you've got twink characters and things like that, that for Warlords release, maybe this is why they haven't announced a new Battleground, because they're having a little reshuffle, it seems, of their own, and Battlegrounds are now going to become available a lot sooner. I can't remember, to be honest, off the top of my head, what level they currently come out as, but it looks like at level 10, you'll have Warsong Gulch and Arathi Basin. Then you get Eye of the Storm at level 19. You get Alteric Valley at level 20. Level 29, Battle of Gilneas. 39, Twin Peaks, Silver Shard Mine. And it just builds up from there. Level 60, you get a load more. Level 85, you get a load more. So, yeah, I guess if you're into sort of twinking or you want to get in PvP content sooner, I mean, Alteric Valley at level 20 sounds insane. I don't know what the minimum requirement is at the moment, but
that's pretty interesting. It just gives you access to most of the battlegrounds sooner than you normally do leveling up. I don't know.
So yeah,
I'm not opposed to it, obviously.
My thoughts are though: is there anything inherent about any of those battlegrounds that means you couldn't technically do them at any level? Do you think, except for size? Obviously, you need mount ups, but.
Right, like Alteric Valley. That one's going to be crazy, but it does hit at level 20, so at least you'll have your mount for it. Eye of the Storm is one that's it's a pretty big map, and you'll have it at 19, so you won't have a mount for it. But I think it's one that all the level 19 twinks have been kind of begging for. So
it's going to be good. It might in a way sort of. The thing that I thought about actually, sort of just to go the other way, when I was reading this article, made me wonder about how big that sort of demographic is.
Right, yeah. I mean, do either of you do it? Twink a character at all?
No.
Not really.
And then when you add on the fact that we have a sort of boost culture perhaps coming in at some point, not to say you'll be able to buy your way forward, but, heirlooms and things like that, you're just smashing your way through these tiers. You could do 9 levels in 2 hours maybe. So
soon we'll talk to people and be like, I've never actually leveled before, and just, oh, you booster.
That's it. So I think it's great. It gives people who want to do that more options, but at the same time, I think it's got to a stage now where there's some features where I'm personally looking at, I'm thinking, did anyone ask for that? Really?
Yeah, I mean, I was, not really taken aback by it. Just like, okay, that's happening. Not really.
It's not a BlizzCon announcement.
And announcing the big news, we're restructuring when you get Battlegrounds. Crickets.
Okay.
The Alliance can now get pwned at level 19. Yes. Just what I wanted. And what skills as well do you have at, say, level 10?
Not
probably have
very
about
many. I mean, if you're a mage,
abilities?
you have everything you're ever going to use, but...
I don't, maybe not. No, if you're fire spec, it's going to be awful. You'll have no crit at all.
Exactly. All right. So we have a kind of a big discussion topic. I kind of have a feeling we're going to spend a lot of time here talking about this today. It's the war between narrative and game mechanics. We have an interesting article up on Joystick. The article talks about a disjunction between narrative and game mechanics. Main characters like Jaina and Sylvanas are hyping up the Horde versus Alliance, but victory for either side can never become a reality. So we end up fighting third-party entities like the Thunder King or Garrosh, stuff like that, but we never really fight each other. In essence, how does this disjunction affect how can it be improved? And it respects to like PvP, the zones in the World of Warcraft, like how can this be changed, maybe, if it ever will be? Or will we continue to never actually see a war between the Horde and the Alliance?
That's it. I mean, this is an article I sort of pulled from Joystick. It was an interesting discussion, and I would definitely check out the original article because it goes into real depth and there's some really good points in it. But generally, what I picked up from it was that it seems endlessly that we're meant to hype up this Horde versus Alliance. It's the core feature of all the Warcraft franchises, yet it built it up, and then game mechanics and the whole nature of the game itself sort of kicks in, and you could never have an expansion where the Alliance just go in and destroy Orgrimmar and Silvermoon City, and that's the expansion. You just can't have that unbalance between them. So, in a way, when it comes to PvP content and the narratives and things like that, is there a real departure from the game and what the story they're trying to sell effectively? I mean, if you look at novels like War Crimes, it's supposed to heighten this sense that the Alliance and the Horde are literally on the verge of fighting each other. But we know that from the current expansion that's probably not going to happen at all, or maybe not for a very long time until the very end of the expansion.
Well, it really makes you wonder how could they actually implement us fighting the other faction in the game, aside from, PvP, World PvP, or Battlegrounds. I mean, we can't necessarily just start raiding each other's capital cities. I mean, you can, but it doesn't actually affect the narrative of the story.
Yeah.
It would be really cool if, every time someone does the For the Horde achievement, it actually affects the narrative of the timeline, but how would you do that in such a structured MMO game like World of Warcraft?
Yeah. You can't, and they keep wanting to, make it seem like we're at the verge of conflict or conflict with the other side, but then, like you said, if we actually did have conflict, we can't have what we're doing change the narrative. They'd have to, if they finally had a big war between the two sides in-game, however they did it, they would have to choose a canon victory side. Like, this is the side that won, no matter what actually happened on your server.
Yep, and we'd have to have a kind of a branching storyline from that. Like, eventually your storyline would be completely different if you were playing on Horde or Alliance.
Yeah, and, a big reason they do all this is, going back to Warcraft, it was orcs versus humans. That was the title of the game. Mm-hmm. I think they need to realize that just because it's called Warcraft and it's a war-based game, that doesn't need to be what the war is.
Yeah.
Just transition fully to us working together, and the war is always with a third faction. Just do that, and so then our characters can actually change. Because I think the whole narrative versus game mechanic thing is one of the reasons that Jaina went from being a really cool, interesting character that was, trying to work for peace. She was, friends with Thrall. She was on good terms with Bane, Bloodhoof, introduced Anduin to them and all this stuff. I really liked all that story when all that was happening. And they're like, wait, but if Thrall and Jaina actually do achieve peace, then we won't have war, so we need to change their characters. Do something. We'll have Garrosh blow up Theramore. Now Jaina has a reason to be mad and not want peace anymore. And suddenly it changed her character into a much more two-dimensional character that's just anger, violence. Okay, what?
But I mean, it really. But I think that people also want a reason for PvP. It's kind of exists without a purpose in Azeroth as it is right now. If we did then move towards ending the war, we're staying united, then there's no reason to why PvP is happening other than...
There can always be outlying factions that still are extremists and fight each other.
So if you PvP, you are an extremist.
I mean, but I think it even mentions in the article how many people go do PvP and say, I'm doing this because of lore.
Yeah.
I like the lore for why I'm... But no, they go do it because they like to do PvP.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And kind of going to bring in another game here that has nothing to do with Warcraft, but Halo. Halo 4, I didn't like it that much, but it had a great explanation for the PvP, because you never really cared in the past why Red was fighting Blue. But they explained that it was a training program and a giant simulation ship that they had, and that's what the PvP was in that game. It'd be interesting if they kind of added some kind of narrative to the PvP, and wow, you're going in to train for the actual war over here.
That's it. Or you could, take Zul's thing where when you start up a battleground, you temporarily join a narrative faction, and that faction for each battleground could be differently themed. So these guys from the Horde are trying to blow up this, or the Alliance are trying to attack this convoy, and the others are going to try and stop them, or something like that. And I think, just having a bit of narrative to it. I mean,
and maybe it's not necessary, at least for the queued battlegrounds, but for something like Ashran, if we're working together in Draenor to, unite against the Iron Horde, why are we bickering over this small little island?
Yeah, and the article has a good little note on that. It says, after Garrosh Hellscream is defeated, the following is implied. The Horde and the Alliance are in the midst of a ceasefire, and the Alliance is the current world power. The Horde has been really, really weakened by these events. And so if you try to apply those to Ashran, well, we shouldn't be fighting in the first place. And if we are, the Alliance should basically sweep the board with the Horde right now.
Yep.
It should be a no contest.
But really, all the faction leaders are all on the mainland, and there's like, we can't keep them from fighting on the island, so we'll ignore them.
Yeah.
But saying that, I think there's never been, to my knowledge at least, in current up-to-date lore, such a strong basis for having both PvE narrative and PvP content and narrative. Why couldn't you have the Warlord story and then have separate narratives saying why Jaina wants a war with the Horde and why Sylvanas just wants the Horde to go down the pan? So you could easily have these leaders, these faction leaders, directly influencing PvP content. Now, obviously, like you say, PvP players don't necessarily do it for the narrative, but there's no reason why, with a franchise that is so strongly lore-based, you can't. I think Warlords, if anything, is an exercise in suspension of disbelief. The time travel thing in one aspect, but I think there's no reason why it couldn't work. And in relation to zones, there's a lot of things that have happened in WoW across the expansions, and naturally it's implied that our characters have done so much. But why can't, if maybe after Warlords is released, when Blizzard are hopefully up to speed and their teams are fully staffed and things like that, why can't it be that I go back through to the old Outland and I can see different phased elements that show that there was a change there or something like that, just to show a sense of progression rather than quite literally revisiting the old zones, if that makes sense? I mean, is that a possibility?
At least as far as changing our Draenor or our Outland, no. Just because they've already stated that it's not our universe, not our past, but a totally different universe. So what we do in this Draenor will not affect our Azeroth at all, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Yeah, it's not going to affect it in the slightest.
Unless we lose and all the orcs just pile through and kill everybody.
Because then they're coming over to our place and now affecting it. This is definitely an interesting topic because there's no real resolution to it. I mean, not that I can think of. Because either idea we've had, there's an opposite conflict to that idea.
It's just unfortunately a bit of grit stuck in a perfectly functioning machine that you're never going to be able to get out of it.
Yeah.
But
so there may never be a real reason to why you're queuing up and capturing the Alliance's flag and running it back over to your...
We really want that flag.
And we don't really need a reason for that, but I would like to see more reason to why we're fighting each other on Ashran and explain world PvP a little bit more. I mean, obviously our factions do hate each other, so it makes sense for I'm going to kill that orc or kill that human if I see them out in public, but I'd really like more explanation behind Ashran. At least lore-wise.
Yeah. And it might, this is the last thing I'll say, but it might help bridge that gap. I mean, if Brian Helinka is really as passionate about bridging that gap between PvE players and PvP players, narrative is, a core support of that bridge. You want people to go, well, I've done all the story. Hang on, there's a bit of story I haven't done yet. And as they start experiencing it, I mean, the Legendary Quest, for all its gripes and everything, made us do PvP, and, it wasn't terrible, but... It got us in there. So why not do the same thing? The Black Prince had a narrative to it.
And that's why I think Ashran's going to be great, because it really does bridge that gap between the PvE and PvP players. PvE players can still go and get their, lore exciting finding stuff feeling while they're getting their asses kicked by people who are really good at PvP. I don't know. Any more thoughts?
The article kind of brings up a little bit of what I mentioned earlier about kind of have an uneasy truce and focus the war on third parties. And then, any PvP, like you said, I mean, the factions do have issues with each other. They don't get along. Mm-hmm. So there's always going to be a little bit of conflict, but don't have it be an all-out war between the sides. Have the faction leaders, and this is like what the article says, have the faction leaders kind of step back and not be directly involved in the conflict. They realize there's still conflict going on, but they only step in if it's going really too far, because their focus is on a third party, the Burning Legion, the Lich King, Deathwing, and instead of having an individual hero like Thrall for Deathwing and all that kind of stuff, have the faction leaders actually working together. And as the article puts it, let us have an Avengers or a Power Rangers, a team up. Yeah. Let them be working together. And like I said, there's always going to be the conflict because people just can't get along with each other when someone is different. We all know that. You're different than me. And, in the case of Azeroth, the differences are a little more extreme than here. Than here on Earth. Yeah. And so they realize that that conflict is going on. They are fighting each other. They aren't living at peace, but they aren't at war because they're focused on the bigger picture of third parties. And I think that would be a good way to go. And just because then we could get some really cool team ups. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome to see, Vol'jin and Varian and a bunch of them kind of stare, kind of uneasy, but then they're like, okay, and they work together and have this big fight scene together. I mean, come on.
And assemble
That's
their
actually kind of how what I think it might happen in Warlords too. I can see it going that direction.
They, power of heart, whatever.
But how long can they keep? Do you think they're going to keep that up? Then, if they keep with that, could they keep that up for the rest of Warcraft?
It depends on what they do with it. I think they could. But if they kept changing what that third party is, then it's just going to get to where it's like, oh, it's just a different...
I almost like the idea of an entire expansion devoted to, separating it and having it Horde versus Alliance. Because they've talked about the war before, and they kind of said, we're going to have a big war in Pandaria, and it really was just a series of dailies.
Mists was supposed to be that. But it really wasn't.
No.
It was all of us uniting against part of the Horde Zone faction.
Yeah, so it would... Like we mentioned earlier, it would be interesting to see an entirely divided expansion. One side gets one thing and the other side gets another, and have it just fully devoted to that conflict. But that's how they'd have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I mean, supposedly there's 10 years more of World of Warcraft coming down the pipeline, so...
All right.
Hold on to your hats.
Hold on to your butts.
All right. Moving on to our next topic, the countdown to Warlords has really begun, like we said before, with exactly 2 months to go. Literally, 2 months from this day, Warlords will
Holy
be
cow,
released.
yeah, it's the 13th. Look at that.
So 2 months from today,
it's not long.
Warlords of Draenor will be released. How are you guys going to be getting ready for the expansion?
Trying to beat the other games that come out beforehand so they aren't distracting me.
That's a very good point. We have so many games this fall.
Yes, I have my handful that I know I'm gonna buy and be wanting to play.
Obviously the big one for me has already started, but I'm just I'm kind of upset that that Halo comes out that same week as Draenor.
Yeah,
and it'd be fine if it was one game. But it's 4.
Dragon Age Inquisition comes out right around that same time, and for me, I'm like,
Age.
I love BioWare. They are, Blizzard and BioWare are my 2 favorite companies, easy, hands down. Well, besides Telltale now. They're a little bit different in the way you play their games and stuff, But so that's coming out at the same time, and I'm just like, what? No!
Yeah.
How do I do this?
Blizzard, why didn't you just release your game in the summer like you originally planned to? Grr.
Just be thankful it's not coming out in December.
Yes, very
because that'd be
thankful
awful.
about that. Personally, though, as far as getting ready, yes, playing other games is a part of that. But as soon as 6.0 hits live servers, I myself, and I recommend to anybody else who doesn't have an heirloom, will be running Flex, which will at the time then be called Normal Mode Siege of Orgrimmar, because you do have that guaranteed heirloom drop if you don't have your heirloom. So I will be doing that. As far as anything else, though, I'm not going to need any more gear. I'm just going to nail down which tune I'm going to play first and go from there. What about you, Tom?
I think I was sort of looking up what other people were doing, and there was a website. It's called Circo or Psycho. I can't pronounce that. SYRCO.wordpress.com, and this person they have an article called "I'm Not Prepared for Warlords of Draenor," and they talk about all the things they're gonna do. And to be honest, it's very close to how my list would be. I need to get a new computer, quite simply, because there was a time when even I think it was in Cataclysm when Mac software just got a bit too outdated, and they said you've got to just have the new stuff because we're not even going to touch your old software and things like that. So it was costing money to really keep up with the game. So I would definitely be getting a new computer, which is going to be the biggest investment. Trying to set up, a stable game room, so I'm not sitting at a sort of a wobbly table or anything like that, like I used to. Yeah. But otherwise, I think in game, I want to finish this legendary quest, which hopefully shouldn't take me more than this weekend. But really, I don't know what else I want to do, mate, other than perhaps try and collect a few mounts. Maybe. Yeah. I just feel like
there is a list of stuff that will disappear when 6.0 comes. So,
and that's the thing. I think if wherever that list is, I'm sure Wowhead or someone will publish a list of things to do before Warlords releases or something like that. Just get on with those lists, because after the legendary quest, I feel like I've done everything that Miss has to offer. Yeah. So even though I haven't done, me and my guild we'll probably still be running normal level raiding, getting through Thok and beyond as far as we can. But there really isn't much else. I might try and get an alt up to cap, but it'll probably won't be my main. So yeah, it's difficult to say. I think we're in a waiting room now, and we're sitting here waiting for our number to come up.
The one other thing I'm looking to do before it comes out is my guild has broken up. So anybody who watches the show should be sure to message me, because I am looking for a guild to be raiding in Warlords of Draenor. I pretty much have an open schedule, so yeah.
Is it are you think of going mythic, or you think of starting a bit slower and
I'd
building
at
up?
least like to be clearing heroics, but definitely would like to be giving mythic a try for sure. I have Mistweavers, I have Death Knights, mages. I can do any role you want me
in
to.
Abundance.
Yes,
that sounds like you've got
I
them
do have
in
multiple.
A factory
I
somewhere.
have multiple monks and multiple DKs because I started playing Alliance. So
as a sort of question to you guys, with relation to getting ready for in-game, have you guys both got your pre-orders done, or are you like me and waiting for the hard copy box set?
Yeah, I got my pre-order. Definitely.
Yep, pre-ordered.
Have you used your boost already?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, generally speaking then, what's going to be your main going in?
My main will be my Death Knight. He's been my main for a long time, kind of sidetracked with my monk for a while, but I'm definitely going to be picking it back up with the Death Knight, because it's kind of a tradition for me to level that one first. It's ever since Wrath of the Lich King.
My main will be my Druid, because that was the first character I hit max with, and that's still the one I enjoy the most.
What about you, Tom?
Fair enough. I'm just this is the dilemma. I would normally stick to my mage.
Yeah.
But I think warlocks are just a bit too OP at the moment, so I might just try and abuse that while I still can.
Do you have a green fire on your warlock yet?
No. Again, that's probably something I'm going to do in the downtime between now and release.
Yep. If you get it before 6.0, you get a title of the Black Harvest. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's handy to know.
Cool title.
See, this is it. This is why this is useful. We can do all our housekeeping, get cleaned up. But It's yeah, I think it's good in a way because this, some people I've noticed on forums have been like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. I've got to unsub because I just don't want to be in the game at the moment. They feel, even some people have gone as far as to say the content's just too outdated for them, and they're just thinking, no, can't be bothered. But I think it's important because people are going to get to about a month away from release, and it's going to fly by. And if anything, people are going to feel they haven't got enough time to touch on that content. I mean, I don't think we'll miss Siege, but I'm sure people might miss Throne of Thunder, maybe, or something like that.
I feel like 6.0 is really going to bring a lot of people back into the game. That'll really make people realize, okay, it's almost here. I want to play with all the new changes, stuff like that. So we'll probably see a huge influx of players coming back, because we've had quite a dip in players, if you haven't noticed, over the last year.
It's a shame in a way. We won't know those numbers until after Warlords is released. I think a month or two after. So
it'll definitely be interesting to see if they do increase their player base, or if it might be leveling out. Who knows? But anything else to say? Any other ways you're preparing, Jake?
Nothing in particular. See if maybe I can finally get the legendary at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was telling Jake before we started, I finally gave up on getting it for my mage. I don't even know how many that would be at this point anyway, so I don't need it.
No,
I need it. I mean, I don't need it.
What do you got? What's everyone going to do with these legendary cloaks once we go into Warlords? Are they just going to stick them in the bank?
You'll still be wearing them at level 100, I would assume. Looking at what the eye levels are anyway, you'll be wearing them at least up to 100.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think you won't replace it till you're raiding or, getting ready to raid.
So it's kind of like its own heirloom, in a sense.
That's a fair point. Thank God I might have one. And not on the one I'm thinking. It's on my mage as well. It's not going to be on my warlock. So this is kind of, I'm going to have to go for my mage now as my main, just to make this useful.
So moving on to our weekly topic, Lorelords of Draenor. This week they have released Durotan's special little video, Lords of War. And this one definitely feels different than the other two. Again, like last week, I won't play the whole video, but I will play a little segment. So here we go. Here's the video.
You cannot hesitate, my king. The Iron Horde must be stopped.
You speak only of their savagery. But surely they are not all monsters.
There was one. Durotan. His clan prided itself on suppressing rage, for they knew that those who succumb to the beast within become their own greatest enemy. The clan was named for its kinship with the snow-white frostwolves. Together, they hunted the mighty Clefthoof. Every winter, the Clefthoof would migrate, and the clan would follow. But one year, when Durotan was very young...
Mother, they're leaving it. You've got to wake up.
His mother Gaia had been bitten by a drift lurker. Those who suffered its bite fell into a deep sleep and...
Alright, so there's a little hint of what you can watch there over on worldofwarcraft.com, or head over to their YouTube page. This one definitely has a different feel than the first two, mainly because it's revealing one of our allies' backstory instead of one of our enemies. What do you guys think? Tom?
I was just going to say, I think we'd only seen Kargath and Grom up until now, and I obviously wasn't part of the last show, but looking at Grom's one, I still, although that was a little bit more black and white than grey, as in Kargath's situation, where you could kind of sense he was a bit of a villain at heart. now the tone just shifted entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned out of it is that Durotan's mum is not nice. I mean, he goes through all of that, and she's like, nope, shouldn't have bothered.
Yep.
Wow. What?
Thanks.
What a loving parent.
Yeah.
I would rather you have died than become that. What? What?
Pick up your dead pet's carcass and wear it.
Yep. So, spoilers.
Oh yeah. Whoops.
Sorry. But yeah. So that kind of reveals why Durotan is always wearing a wolf on his head. I guess it's his puppy.
I was like, why did you have to do that? Come on.
Yeah. So it kind of shows the rage that Durotan feels or felt when he was younger, and then that he wears that carcass, because he gets raged and accidentally kills his wolf. So he wears that on his head, strangely, as a reminder to never get angry again.
Yeah, and like it's supposed to be like they're different from all the orcs, because that's the berserker rage, that's the bloodlust that orcs have in them. Exactly. And the Frostwolf clan as a whole are trying to suppress and control that, unlike the rest of the orcs.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So that definitely shows
sorry.
their good side, I guess. Yeah.
There's just something about that comment at the end, though. And again, spoilers, but it says, you had to wear that, that fur on his head to remind himself that even the most noble orc can give in to savagery. And I'm thinking, okay, let's just accept it. Thrall's going to go nuts this expansion. I get it. Don't overbear it on us. But
Well, have you seen his haircut in the beta? I mean, he's already losing it a little bit.
yeah.
It's like he shaved his whole head and left a ponytail. I mean, what kind of look is that, Thrall?
Steven
Yeah.
Seagal. That's the kind of look it is.
I guess that's what he's going for.
It's good in a way, but I wish, I don't know. I just feel like it's just too many shades of red and white in this case. It's just, the bad guys are clearly the bad guys, but only because we can see what the good guys are like, if that makes sense. So, I mean, it makes a really interesting expansion narrative-wise, but I wonder, who else have we got to see?
Kilrog, Deadeye.
Kilrog.
I think that's the last one, too.
Yep.
Yes. So, but there's something about, taking Durotan out of it, or maybe, keeping him in it. All of these have suffered, and in a way are justified by their actions. I mean, it's just coincidence that Durotan's chosen a very noble path, but I'm not convinced that we're any better than them. I mean, that's what Mist kind of showed, was this idea of how emotions feed into the heart of individuals and how that extrapolates, and how, entities, nations, things like that can be horrible even though they're fighting for good. But this is, in some ways it feels like it's treading similar ground, but it's too many shades of grey, if that makes sense. At least you knew the Shah were evil. There wasn't a sense of, I guess they're justified in what they're doing. It's difficult in a way, and I'm going to feel that there's a lot of pressure on Blizzard to really justify why we're going to want to knock down these bosses other than the loot. I mean, that's obvious, but again, go back to narrative.
Well, I mean, Durotan isn't a boss. That, first of all, like he's allying with us.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely one reason why they changed the narrative of how they presented this video anyway, just because they wanted to present him as someone that we can like and trust, but understand that he's still an orc, still has a brutal past. But you're right, though, about there being so many different... It's not necessarily clear, because they portrayed the Iron Horde as something, like, especially with the new cinematic, that you almost, like, sympathize with. You almost understand why they're doing what they're doing. Besides the fact that Garrosh is manipulating everything.
I mean, like, I definitely feel that they're a very dangerous enemy, and they are trying to invade our world, but they aren't, like the Legion or the Lich King, where it's like, okay, these people are evil and we need to kill them.
Yeah.
It's like, we definitely need to stop them, because they are attacking us and they are extremely dangerous and, formidable foes, But beyond
But
that,
can't we just kill Garrosh again and then be friends with everybody else?
whoa, this guy was manipulating the crap out of you.
He didn't even bother to tell you he was your son. Dun dun dun.
And then he
If
goes
any-
into a rage and kills everyone.
If anything, though, at the start of all these episodes, it's Murad who seems like the worst out of all of them, even compared to the orcs, because he's the one who's like, just kill them all. Just honestly, you don't want to ask me what happened.
There's
Exactly.
this guy and oh, but they're not all bad.
Well,
Well,
and
Still bad because he killed his puppy.
And these aren't even, like, again, with the time thing, I won't dwell on this, but these are the ones that he knew in the previous Draenor.
Yeah.
These are not
Yeah.
the same ones. And he's still saying, yeah,
Well-
just kill him then.
well, no, the thing is because the stories he's telling,
Still
this
happened.
that was the version of Grom that never had a child. So how is he telling stories of the ones we're seeing and not the ones he
Yes.
knew? Because that's something someone brought up. Someone brought up, like, these are cool, but don't try to think about how
Yeah.
Murad is telling stories of the ones he hasn't met yet.
Come on, Blizz. Fix your timelines here.
And it, when the Durotan one started and Varian is like, they can't all be bad, I was like, oh my gosh, that was such a cliche thing to say. Like, it was such an obvious lead up.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know about you guys, but I think that every intro scene so far has seemed very corny. Just the conversation between Varian and what's his name.
Yeah, they have seemed a bit.
So I tend to just kind of, be like, all right, get to the warlord. All right.
Yeah, right. Because then it gets cool.
Let's see one start from the horde perspective. Come on. Let's have Thrall being educated by Jaina or something. That'd be backwards, wouldn't it?
Right?
That
Let
would
me
be
teach
cool.
you about the orcs. Okay.
It's like, looks at himself. I am an orc.
Come on,
Well, I
Blizz.
think
That's what we
they-
want for the next one.
That would have been good, actually. I think, that it would have been cool to have the different faction leaders interpreting this in different ways. Why's Varian got to hear it? Why can't you have a conversation with Varian and then one with Vol'jin and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
one with
Or
Sylvanas
what
and
if-
Jaina?
Because Thrall heard a lot about his homeland. He went back and all that kind of stuff. So what if it was Murad, whatever, how you ever say his name, talking to
Muradin.
Thrall, and so he's like, "This is how I remember them," and Thrall's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." But this is how I remember them, and it's like a little bit of a different turn on the same story,
Mhm.
Like, obviously Murad's is focusing on the savagery and Thrall's is focusing on like the overcoming hardship part of it, but it's the same story, and then you can see how it's interpreted differently.
That would be an interesting way to put it. All right, Blizz, we know you watch the show. Please take heed for future reference. All right, so moving on to our final segment of the show, we call The Prince's Gaze, where we take a look at the community. And this week, Blizzard has put together another gigantic round of updates to many of their fan content galleries on the official site, including with updated new wallpapers featuring Grom, Pandaria-themed cake, yay for cake,
Cake.
and another round of Mists of Pandaria concept art, and a new Warcraft fan comic. In addition to all of that, there's another
And
group of
costumes.
images of costume cosplay. I don't know, do you guys pay attention to this at all whenever they release new artwork like this?
I usually glance through it.
Yeah.
It's cool stuff.
I'm a huge fan of cosplay. I mean, that's one of the
Same.
reasons why I go to BlizzCon is just to see everybody in their cosplay. And so you can see a really good collection of a lot from BlizzCon last year. Like female Thrall, for example.
Female Thrall is awesome.
That is amazing.
I really like gender bend cosplays because
Yeah.
people get really creative.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually trying to plan one myself.
All right.
I love
but
the
yeah,
Target dummy. I thought that was hilarious last year.
Yeah.
Did someone go as a target dummy?
Yep, we got
Yes.
it pulled up on the screen right now.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
And they have an image of the
that's cool.
female Thrall attacking it.
Yep. And a female Medivh as well. I mean, that
Yes.
really
I-
cool
yeah.
stuff here.
I love those. Yeah.
And
Really-
I'm so excited this year for the talent contest and the show. Just going back to BlizzCon for a second, they announced that Chris Hardwick, he's going to be hosting the show this year. If you don't know who that is, he's Nerdist at nerdist.com. He also hosts stuff like Talking Dead and Talking Bad when there was Breaking Bad. So he's pretty famous nerd, so I'm pretty excited to have him hosting BlizzCon this year. Or at least the talent portions and stuff.
What sort of things come up in the talent portion? I mean, just to, again, stick with BlizzCon for a second. Because I sort of, when they did their sort of advert for, applications are open now, it varied from juggling to all sorts of other things. Is it literally anything goes?
Not necessarily, like you don't have someone up there juggling war axes or anything like that, but there was some music videos made that were really awesome. We had a couple live performances from indie bands come up and play one song about the Alliance and one song about the Horde. That was really cool. There were some music videos. There were machinimas that were up for competition, and of course then the costumes. But that's usually about what it covers. It's like music or independently made videos of your talent, but they don't necessarily have people come up and start juggling or something like that.
Sounds good. I don't know what I'd go up with.
I do love the art community for Blizzard, though. I mean, they have great art, concept art, stuff like that, all on their website. So definitely check that out if you never have before. Looks like we're getting pretty pressed for time here.
I can rush through the next one.
Yes, Tom, why don't you take lead on this one?
Okay, so it's just sort of like a feel-good story from the community, and it's about a gentleman by the name of David Armstrong, and he took to the WoW forums last week because he wanted to thank the game's developers for years of entertainment, and for himself, that's entertainment for himself and his wife Tabitha, who had been at the time, diagnosed with a rare aggressive form of cancer. And the community, WoW community, as it seems to always do, because there have been so many times where I've seen this over 8-10 years of WoW that I've been in, the community gave back. They attended a special in-game event to honour the couple over the weekend, and they donated more than $5,000 in a matter of days. David and Tabitha Armstrong, they've played it for years and years and years, and they've even organised a guild of players to tackle heroic difficulty bosses on their home server of Eldrathalas. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And yeah, they just wanted to really sort of say thank you to everyone who sort of gave. And yeah, it's just a great experience. There's a full article on VentureBeat.com, and yeah, just I think it's just a great example of how WoW is a community. Anyone who says that it's a cliche sort of make love not Warcraft, geeks in their bedroom eating Doritos, it's not always. No. So
I love Blizzard's community in general. I mean, this stuff, we see it happen in a lot of different ways throughout the community, and it's always great to see. We've had players put in game stuff like that. So the Blizzard community always comes out for stuff like this, and it's always great to see that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I feel proud.
People all band together, and it's good stuff.
Definitely proud to be a part of it, personally.
Yes.
Good guy, everyone.
Good guy, WoW community. And we have one more little part of the community, work. World of Warcraft. Machinima by Ian Beckham. Not Beckham, maybe. I don't know how to pronounce your name.
Ian Beckman. But it does look like Beckham if you read it quickly. Ian Beckham is a sort of a well-known WoW Machinima creator. If I'm right, he's the same guy who might have done a stickers advert, a parody one. But anyways, he made this.
And this one's only about 2 minutes long, so we'll go ahead and play it in its entirety for you podcast viewers.
Work.
And in case you were wondering, that is going to be the quality of the orcs in the Warcraft movie.
Was that not its trailer?
But that was really cool. I love. He's the only person I've ever seen do machinima, like stuff like that in live action. So, cool way of doing that there. Good job.
That's pretty funny.
So, any shout-outs this week? We've got our little heroes call. If anybody has specific people they would like to mention in this week's show.
I've just got two.
Okay.
I wanted to give a shout out to the Sundering podcast. They've been giving us a couple of shout outs on Twitter, and a guy who goes on Twitter by the name of Zach. He's been doing quite a lot of shout outs for us as well. Also, Caroline Bolger. Sorry, I noticed one more just as I was going through the feed. So thank you guys for sort of shouting out to the show.
Jake, what about you?
Well, I don't really have anything to add, but yeah, thanks to everybody following and doing the follow Fridays and all that good stuff.
Yeah, totally forgot your name, good sir. But the local guy at GameStop. That's what I will call you, guy at GameStop. Met you at the Destiny launch, but he works at my local GameStop, and he has heard our show before, and that was like wow. So shout out to you. Interesting enough. Keep listening. I'm glad you like it. Tell your friends.
That's cool.
That was pretty cool.
That's so cool. I think we should make a Twitter feed for him. Guy at GameStop.
Guy at GameStop. Yes, that's what this episode will be called. Hashtag Guy at GameStop. Okay.
We made it to 10 shows.
Yes, 10 shows. Got to thank
Right?
everybody who's listened to the show so far. Very happy we've been doing it this long. I'm very happy to personally just to be a part of Epic Geeks. Thank you guys for taking me on. But I love doing this podcast, and hopefully we'll see 20 and then 30 and then 100 eventually. We'll get there, guys. But you can always give us a listen if you're not watching the live stream. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can follow us, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Twitch, and coming soon to Hitbox. You can follow us on Twitter at Geeks of Azeroth. Me personally, I am Tarly_pause with a Z. What about you, Jake?
I am
So
at
close to that.
Zulgeek on Twitter.
And I am still at TC McIlroy, but pretty much on everything I go onto the name Britzer. So as soon I've had to not report that account as a development. I feel like I should provide a development quickly. I wrote to Twitter to say, does this person still need to have this account? They haven't posted anything in 5 years. They posted one thing. Can I have the Twitter name, please? And I haven't got a response yet, but hopefully by next show.
Soon. Soon. And and we'd love some viewer questions for the show. So if you want to either tweet us or email us at geeksofazeroteg@gmail.com. We'd love to take your questions and answer them here on the show. And remember to check out our show. Plus, we have a little show that deals with a game called WildStar, called Geeks of Nexus. You can check that out, plus many Let's Plays and reviews and other such gaming material at epicgeeks.co.uk. Definitely check out that website for a lot of stuff from us. But we'll be back in the future next week for the next episode of Geeks of Azeroth. Whatever our show is called. Everybody have a good week in Warcraft.